They wanted me declared incompetent by Monday morning. The paper trembled in Jack's hand. Not from age. From rage I hadn't earned the right to feel yet. 3 weeks earlier, the invitation had come on a sunny Saturday. Eric's voice on the phone sounded light. Almost cheerful. "Mom," he said, "let's grab lunch at O'Malley's pub. Just you and me." The word "just" should have warned me. It had been years since he asked me out alone. No Lauren. No grandkids. Just mother and son. At 73, hope still made me stupid. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Saturday arrived warm and clear. The drive to O'Malley's took 20 minutes. Traffic was light. My hands were steady on the wheel. Eric waited outside the pub. His smile didn't reach his eyes. I noticed that first. The hug felt rehearsed. Inside, the pub had changed. Brighter lights. Cleaner floors. New paint on the walls. Everything polished to erase the past. We sat in our old booth. The one near the window. Eric ordered without asking what I wanted. Then Jack appeared. The bartender. The one who remembered me from before. He leaned close as he set down my water. "Margaret," he whispered. His voice barely carried. "You need to be careful." His hand trembled. Not mine. His. "Your son and his wife," he continued. "They're planning something. A lawyer's involved. A doctor too." The glass sweated in front of me. Condensation pooled on the table. "Don't sign anything," Jack said. Eric returned before I could respond. Jack straightened, smiled, walked away like nothing had been said. Eric talked about work, about the kids, about Lauren's new project. His words filled the space between us. I watched his hands. They moved too much, gestured at nothing. Outside, a car alarm went off. Brief. Then silence. When Eric went to take a work call, I sat alone. The booth felt smaller than before. The light through the window cut sharp across the table. Jack caught my eye from behind the bar. His face said everything his voice couldn't. That night, sleep was impossible. The ceiling fan turned overhead. The sound of it filled the dark. Lawyer. Doctor. Plans. Jack's words played on a loop. Like water dripping. Like a clock ticking down. Eric had mentioned helping me lately. "Simplify things," he said. "Bills. Passwords. My will." He called it kindness. Made it sound like relief. Now it sounded like strategy. By dawn, I was dressed. The drive back to O'Malley's took longer in the empty streets. Jack was outside sweeping when I arrived. He saw me, stopped, motioned me in. The pub smelled of last night's beer and morning coffee. No customers yet, just us. Jack pulled out a folded appointment slip. Worn at the edges. "Your name's on it," he said. "Dr. Coleman. Monday morning. Capacity test." The paper sat between us on the bar. A small thing. A powerful thing. My knees wanted to give. The stool held me up. They were going to have me declared incompetent. Incompetent. The word tasted like metal. Like the end of something. Jack poured coffee without asking. Set it in front of me. His hands were steadier now. Mine shook as I reached for the cup. "You need help," he said. "Real help." The coffee burned going down. Good. The pain meant I was still awake. Still here. I thought of Eric's smile at lunch. The rehearsed hug. The way he ordered for me without asking. How long had they been planning this? Weeks? Months? The morning light came through the pub windows. Gold and cold at once. It touched the appointment slip. Made the ink look darker. Monday was 2 days away. 2 days to become incompetent in the eyes of the law. 2 days before my son took everything. The coffee cup sat empty. Jack refilled it. Neither of us spoke. Outside, the street woke up. Cars passed. People walked by. The world continued like nothing was ending. But something was. My independence. My choice. My right to say no. Jack leaned against the bar. You gonna fight this? The question hung there. Simple. Direct. Was I? At 73, I'd buried a husband. Raised 2 children. Survived cancer. Built a life from scratch twice over. The fan overhead turned. The coffee steamed. The light shifted across the floor. Yes, I said. The word came out steady. Stronger than I felt. Jack nodded. Good. Then we need to move fast. The appointment slip stayed on the bar between us. A declaration of war one hadn't known was coming. But war it was. And I was still here. Still standing. Still capable of fighting back. Monday morning might be their deadline. It would be my starting line. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Jack made a phone call while I finished my coffee. His voice stayed low, urgent but controlled. He spoke to someone he trusted. Someone who could help. The coffee had gone cold. I drank it anyway. Outside, the Saturday morning traffic picked up. Cars passed in steady streams. People going about their lives. Unaware, unburdened. Jack hung up, turned to face me. My nephew's a lawyer, he said. Civil law. He owes me. He'll see you today. Today. The word felt too fast. Too real. But Monday was tomorrow. No time left for hesitation. Jack wrote down an address on a napkin. Downtown. 3rd floor. Above the hardware store. The hardware store I knew. Had bought paint there once. Years ago. When the house still felt like mine. Now even that might be taken. Jack walked me to the door. The morning sun hit hard. Made me squint. Be careful driving, he said. They might be watching. The thought hadn't occurred to me. But it landed now. Heavy. Were they watching? Had they been watching all along? The drive downtown took 15 minutes. I checked the rearview mirror 3 times. No one followed. Or maybe I just couldn't tell anymore. Paranoia felt earned now. The hardware store sat on Main Street. Faded red brick. Green awning. A bell chimed when customers entered below. The side entrance led upstairs. Narrow steps. Worn carpet. The smell of old wood and copy paper. 3rd floor. Suite 304. A frosted glass door with simple lettering. Thomas Brennan, attorney at law. I knocked twice. A man in his 40s answered. Tall. Thinning hair. Eyes like Jack's. Sharp. Kind beneath the sharpness. Mrs. Riley, he said. Come in. The office was small. 1 desk. 2 chairs. Filing cabinets against the wall. A window overlooking Main Street. No receptionist. No waiting room. Just him and the work. He gestured to a chair. I sat. The leather creaked under my weight. Thomas sat across from me. Pulled out a legal pad. A pen clicked in his hand. Uncle Jack told me what's happening, he said. I need you to tell me everything. From the beginning. So I did. The invitation 3 weeks ago. Eric's false warmth. Jack's warning. The appointment slip. Monday morning. Dr. Coleman. Capacity test. Thomas wrote fast. His hand moved across the page without stopping. When I finished, silence filled the room. He kept writing. Then looked up. They're moving fast, he said. That's calculated. Less time for you to respond. His words confirmed what I already knew. This wasn't spontaneous. This was planned, orchestrated. Thomas leaned back. The chair squeaked. Capacity tests aren't automatic, he said. Someone has to petition the court. Usually family. They claim concern. Cite examples of incompetence. Examples. What examples could they possibly have? I paid my bills. Drove without incident. Managed my health. Lived independently. Unless they were inventing examples. Thomas seemed to read my thoughts. They'll use anything, he said. Forgot a birthday. Repeated a story. Left the stove on once. Doesn't matter if it's normal aging. The pen tapped against his notepad. Once. Twice. They'll paint a picture of decline, he continued. Real or not. The window behind him showed the street below. People walked past, carrying shopping bags, holding hands, living their lives. My life was being dismantled. Piece by piece, story by story. What do? I asked. My voice sounded smaller than intended. Thomas straightened. His eyes locked on mine. First, he said, we document everything. Your independence. Your capability. Bank statements. Medical records. Daily routines. He flipped to a new page. Second, we file an objection. Before Monday. Challenge the petition. Demand evidence. Third, we get you evaluated independently. A doctor of our choosing. Someone who won't be influenced. The list made sense. Logical. Methodical. But it also made the threat real. This was happening. Actually happening. My son wanted me declared incompetent. Wanted control of my money. My property. My choices. The betrayal tasted worse than cold coffee. Thomas kept talking. Outlined next steps. Timelines. Procedures. His voice stayed steady. Professional. But I'd stopped hearing the details. The room felt smaller suddenly. The air thicker. My phone buzzed in my purse. I ignored it. It buzzed again. Insistent. Thomas paused. Glanced at my purse. You should check that, he said. I pulled out the phone. 2 missed calls from Eric. 1 text message. The text read, Mom, we need to talk. Please call me. Important. Important. Everything was important now. Thomas watched me read it. Don't respond yet, he said. Not until we have a strategy. The phone went back in my purse. Out of sight. Still buzzing with Eric's urgency. Let them wait. Let them wonder. For once, I controlled the timing. Thomas stood. Extended his hand. I shook it. His grip was firm. Reassuring. I'll file the objection this afternoon, he said. We'll fight this. You're not alone. Not alone. The words should have comforted me. But walking down those narrow stairs, I felt entirely alone. The hardware store bell chimed below. Someone buying supplies. Building something. Fixing something. I was trying not to break. Outside, the sun had climbed higher. The day warming. The street busier. My phone buzzed again in my purse. Eric wouldn't stop. Wouldn't wait. The car was parked 2 blocks away. The walk felt longer than it should. Every step carried weight. Every breath took effort. By the time I reached the car, exhaustion had settled in. Not physical. Something deeper. The kind that comes from fighting people you loved. The drive home was a blur. Autopilot. Muscle memory. The house appeared. Small. Quiet. Still mine. For now. Inside, the silence felt different. Heavier. Like the walls knew what was coming. I sat at the kitchen table. The same table where Eric ate breakfast as a child. Where I'd helped him with homework. Where we'd celebrated birthdays. Now he wanted me erased. Not dead. Just powerless. Convenient. Controlled. The afternoon light came through the window. Gold and warm. It touched the table, the chair, my hands folded in front of me. Monday was tomorrow. The fight was just beginning. But I was still here. Still capable. Still standing. They would learn that soon enough. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The phone rang at 6 that evening. Eric's name lit up the screen. Third call since I'd left the lawyer's office. This time, I answered. His voice came through tight. Controlled anger barely contained beneath politeness. "Mom," he said, "we need to talk. Tonight." The word need carried weight. Threat disguised as urgency. "I'm listening," I said. My voice stayed level, calm. "Not over the phone. Come to the house. 7 o'clock. The house. Not my house. His house. His territory. His control. A summons, not an invitation." "I'll be there," I said. Then ended the call. No goodbye. No pretense of warmth. The screen went dark in my hand. An hour to prepare. An hour to gather whatever strength remained. The drive to Eric's house took 25 minutes. Subdivisions with perfect lawns. Streets named after trees that had been cut down to build them. His house sat at the end of Oakmont Drive. 2 stories. Brick facade. 3-car garage. Success made visible. Comfort made architectural. Built partly on money I'd given him. A loan that became a gift. That's what parents do. Now he wanted the rest. Lauren's car was in the driveway. So was another vehicle. Silver sedan. Expensive. Company. They'd brought reinforcements. The doorbell chimed inside. Soft. Melodic. Nothing like the sharp buzz of my own doorbell. Eric answered. No hug this time. No pretense. "Come in," he said. Stepped aside without looking at me. The house smelled of vanilla candles and fresh paint. Everything staged. Nothing lived in. The living room held 3 people. Lauren on the sofa. A woman in a gray suit beside her. Professional. Briefcase at her feet. The woman stood. Extended her hand. "Dr. Sarah Coleman. I'm a geriatric psychiatrist." Dr. Coleman. The name from the appointment slip. The capacity test. She was already here. In Eric's house. Part of their plan. The handshake was brief. Her palm was cold. Or maybe mine was. "Please sit," Eric said. Gestured to an armchair. I sat. They arranged themselves opposite me. A panel. A tribunal. The coffee table between us held a folder. Documents visible inside. My name on the tab. They'd been building a file. Evidence of my supposed decline. Dr. Coleman spoke first. Her voice was smooth. Practiced. The tone of someone used to difficult conversations. "Mrs. Riley," she began. "Your family has expressed concerns about your well-being." Concerns. The word they all used. Safe. Clinical. Disguising control as care. I waited. Said nothing. She continued. "They've noticed memory issues. Confusion about medications. Difficulty managing finances." Each accusation landed like a stone. Small. Cumulative. Designed to build a wall. "I've managed my finances for 50 years, I said. Without error. Without help. The facts were simple. Undeniable. Dr. Coleman nodded. As if she'd heard it before. As if everyone said that. "Sometimes we don't notice our own decline," she said. "That's why family input is valuable." Family input. Eric had seen me twice in a year. Lauren shifted on the sofa. Her expression was carefully neutral. Rehearsed sympathy. "Mom," Eric said. His voice softened deliberately. "We're worried about you. Living alone. No support system." Support system. I had neighbors, friends, a community, but they wanted me to believe I had nothing. Dr. Coleman leaned forward slightly. I'd like to conduct a brief assessment. Just a few questions, nothing invasive. An assessment, here, now, on their terms. Thomas had warned me about this. Don't agree to unofficial evaluations. Don't give them ammunition. I'd prefer to be evaluated by my own physician, I said. Dr. Patel. He's known me for 15 years. Dr. Coleman's smile tightened. I understand. But your family has requested an independent evaluation. Independent. Nothing about this was independent. I stood. The movement surprised them. Eric's face shifted. I'm not answering questions without my lawyer present, I said. The words came out steady. Clear. Exactly what Thomas had coached me to say. Eric stood too. Mom, don't be difficult. We're trying to help. Difficult. The word men used when women refused to comply. I've hired an attorney, I said. Thomas Brennan. Any further communication goes through him. Lauren's expression finally cracked. Annoyance flickered across her face. Eric's jaw clenched. You hired a lawyer? Against your own family? Against a petition to declare me incompetent, I said. Yes. The room went silent. The vanilla candles burned. The expensive furniture sat arranged just so. Everything perfect on the surface. Rotting underneath. Dr. Coleman stood, gathered her briefcase. Her professional mask slipped back into place. If you change your mind, Mrs. Riley, she said. My door is open. She handed me a business card. I took it. Didn't look at it. Eric walked her to the door. Voices murmured in the hallway. Too low to hear. Lauren stayed on the sofa, watching me, calculating. When Eric returned, his face was harder. The sun was gone. The adversary remained. This isn't over, he said. I know, I said. Turned toward the door. Mom. His voice stopped me. One word, heavy with something. Regret maybe. Or just anger. I looked back. Why are you fighting this? He asked. We're trying to take care of you. Take care. Such gentle words for such violent intentions. You're trying to take control, I said. There's a difference. The door closed behind me. Solid. Final. The evening air was cool. The perfect lawns stretched under streetlights. Someone was grilling. Smoke drifted between houses. Normal life. Continuing everywhere except in my own. The drive home felt longer. Every mile carrying weight. They'd ambushed me. Brought the doctor. Tried to conduct the evaluation on their terms. But I'd refused. Stood firm. Said no. Small victories. But victories nonetheless. At home, the house was dark. I turned on lights room by room. Kitchen. Living room. Bedroom. Claiming space. Asserting presence. The business card sat on the counter. Dr. Sarah Coleman. Geriatric psychiatry. The card went in the trash. My phone buzzed. Text from Thomas. How did it go? I typed back. They brought the doctor to the house. I refused evaluation. Cited you. His response came quickly. Good. Don't engage further. Let me handle communication. Let me handle it. The luxury of delegation. Of having someone fight beside you. The clock showed 9:30. Sunday was over. Monday loomed. The courthouse appointment was tomorrow morning. The real battle. But tonight's skirmish had gone to me. Sleep came eventually. Fitful but real. Tomorrow would bring the fight to official ground. With rules. With procedures. With a judge. Level ground. Or as level as it could be when fighting your own child. The alarm was set for 6. Monday would demand strength I wasn't sure I still had. But I'd find it. Or fake it convincingly enough. Survival had always required both. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The courthouse opened at 8 on Monday morning. Thomas and I arrived at 7:45. Early enough to claim ground. Late enough to avoid looking desperate. The building rose in gray stone. Heavy. Permanent. Built to intimidate. It worked. Security waved us through metal detectors. My purse went on the conveyor belt. Keys. Phone. Reading glasses in their case. Everything I owned could fit through an X-ray machine. The thought felt too true. Thomas led me to the third floor. Family court. The hallway smelled of floor polish and recycled air. Our footsteps echoed. No one else had arrived yet. Courtroom 3C. Thomas checked the docket posted outside. Our case was listed. Riley family matter. 9:30. 2 hours to wait. We sat on a wooden bench. Hard. Unforgiving. Designed to make you reconsider being there. Thomas opened his briefcase. Pulled out files. Papers clipped and organized. Evidence of my competence in manila folders. Bank statements showing consistent bill payments. Medical records proving mental clarity. Letters from neighbors attesting to my independence. My life reduced to documentation. But documentation could save me. The hallway slowly filled. Lawyers in dark suits. Families in their Sunday best. Children too young to understand why they were there. Everyone carrying their own crisis. At 9:15, Eric arrived. He wasn't alone. Lauren walked beside him, perfectly dressed. Hair pulled back. Expression neutral. Behind them, a man in an expensive suit. Their lawyer. Gray-haired. Confident stride. They saw us immediately. Eric's face flickered. Surprise maybe. Or disappointment that I'd shown up prepared. He started toward me. Thomas stood. Blocked his path subtly. The lawyer stepped forward instead. Extended his hand to Thomas. Not to me. Gerald Pearson, he said. Representing the petitioners. Thomas shook his hand. Didn't smile. Thomas Brennan. Representing Mrs. Riley. Pearson glanced at me. Brief. Assessing. Like I was evidence to be weighed. Then he turned back to Thomas. Perhaps we could discuss a settlement, he said. The word settlement hung there. Heavy with implications. Thomas's expression didn't change. What kind of settlement? Pearson's voice stayed smooth. Professional. If Mrs. Riley voluntarily agrees to assisted living arrangements, we could withdraw the petition. Assisted living. Pretty words for the same cage. Thomas looked at me. The question clear in his eyes. I shook my head once. Firmly. Thomas turned back to Pearson. My client declines. We'll proceed to hearing. Pearson's smile tightened. Just slightly. As you wish. He walked back to Eric and Lauren. Spoke quietly. Eric's jaw clenched. Lauren touched his arm. Calming him. Or controlling him. Hard to tell the difference anymore. At 9:30, the courtroom doors opened. Inside, the judge's bench loomed high. Dark wood. American flag to one side. State flag to the other. Symbols of authority. Of power. Of decisions that would reshape lives. We took our seats. Thomas and I on the left. Eric, Lauren, and Pearson on the right. The distance between us measured in more than feet. A bailiff entered. Called the room to order. Everyone stood. Judge Martha Hendricks entered. Mid-60s. Reading glasses on a chain. Expression unreadable. She sat. We sat. The machinery of law began turning. Pearson stood first. Addressed the judge with practiced ease. Your Honor, he began. We're here because the family has grave concerns about Mrs. Riley's capacity. Grave concerns. As if I were dying instead of living. He continued. Recent incidents suggest cognitive decline. Forgotten appointments. Repeated stories. Financial confusion. Lies. Each one a small knife. Thomas scribbled notes. His pen moved fast. Pearson called Eric to testify. Eric took the stand. Raised his right hand. Swore to tell the truth. The irony burned. Pearson asked him questions. Gentle. Leading. Designed to paint me as failing. Eric described a mother who forgot his birthday last year. Who asked the same questions twice. Who seemed confused about her medications. Each word felt rehearsed. Polished. False. But the judge wrote them down. When Pearson finished, Thomas stood. His cross-examination was different. Sharp. Direct. Mr. Riley, when was the last time you visited your mother's home? Eric hesitated. 2 months ago. And before that. Another pause. 4 months maybe. Thomas nodded. So in the past year, you've visited twice. Eric shifted. We talk on the phone. Thomas didn't acknowledge the answer. How many pills does your mother take daily? Eric's face went blank. I'm not sure. A few. What are they for? Silence. I don't know exactly. Thomas let the silence stretch. Then turned to the judge. Your Honor, the petitioner claims intimate knowledge of Mrs. Riley's decline. Yet he can't name her medications. Can't recall when he last saw her living space. He paused. Let the point land. This petition isn't about concern. It's about control. Pearson objected. The judge sustained it. But the damage was done. Eric stepped down. His face flushed. Anger or shame. Both maybe. Thomas called me to testify. The walk to the witness stand felt long. Every eye in the room followed. The Bible was cold under my palm. The oath felt sacred despite the circumstances. Thomas asked me simple questions. My daily routine. My medications. My finances. I answered each one clearly. Specifically. With dates and numbers. Not confused. Not failing. Not incompetent. Pearson's cross-examination tried to rattle me. Pressed about forgotten names. Misplaced keys. Normal aging presented as evidence of decline. I stayed calm. Acknowledged the small things. Reminded him I was 73, not 17. The judge almost smiled at that. Almost. When I stepped down, Thomas called his witnesses. My neighbor Mrs. Chen. The pharmacist who filled my prescriptions. My doctor, Dr. Patel. Each one testified to my competence. My independence. My clarity of mind. The hours passed. Testimony piled on testimony. At 3 o'clock, the judge called a recess. Told us she'd render her decision after reviewing the evidence. We stood. The judge left. The courtroom exhaled. Thomas touched my shoulder. You did well, he said. Across the aisle, Eric stood. Our eyes met. His face unreadable. Then he turned away. Left with Lauren and Pearson. No goodbye. No acknowledgement. The son I raised had disappeared somewhere. Replaced by this stranger who wanted me erased. Thomas packed his briefcase. We'll hear from the judge within a week, he said. A week of waiting. Of not knowing. Of wondering if I'd still be free on the other side. The courthouse steps were steep. The afternoon sun was bright. Blinding almost. The world continued. Traffic. People. Life. Mine hung suspended. Waiting for a stranger in a black robe to decide my fate. But I'd fought. Testified. Stood my ground. Whatever came next, I'd done that much. The battle wasn't over. But I was still standing. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The waiting began on Monday afternoon. Thomas had said a week. Maybe less. The judge would review everything. Then decide. 7 days of suspended animation. Of life held in legal limbo. That first night, sleep came in fragments. An hour here. 30 minutes there. The rest was ceiling watching and what-ifs. Tuesday morning arrived gray and cold. Rain tapped against the windows. Persistent. Relentless. The house felt too quiet without the distraction of battle. Coffee brewed. Toast burned. The smoke alarm shrieked until I waved a dish towel beneath it. Normal disasters. Normal life. If anything about this was normal anymore. The phone stayed silent. No calls from Eric. No messages from Lauren. The silence felt deliberate. They were waiting too. Confident maybe. Or just following their lawyer's orders. At 10 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Mrs. Chen stood on the porch. My neighbor from 3 houses down. 81. Sharp as ever. She held a covered dish. Steam rose from beneath the foil. I brought soup, she said. Chicken and ginger. You look like you need it. The kindness landed hard. Unexpected tears threatened. I blinked them back. Come in, I said. She shuffled inside. Moved slowly but steadily. Set the dish on the counter. I heard about the court thing, she said. That boy of yours should be ashamed. The bluntness was refreshing. No careful words. No polite dancing around the truth. Thank you, I said. For the soup. For saying it. She waved a hand. Dismissive. Family can be the worst sometimes. My daughter tried the same thing. The same thing. The words hung there. Heavy with shared experience. What happened? I asked. Mrs. Chen smiled. Thin. Sharp. I fought back. 1. She doesn't visit anymore. The price of victory. Independence bought with isolation. Was it worth it? I asked. Her eyes met mine. Direct. Unflinching. Every day, she said. She left 10 minutes later. The soup sat cooling on the counter. Still warm. Still proof that someone cared. The rest of Tuesday passed slowly. Each hour dragging. The rain never stopped. Wednesday brought sun. Bright. Almost mocking. Thomas called at noon. Checking in. No news yet from the judge. These things take time, he said. Try to stay occupied. Occupied. As if distraction could erase the waiting. The uncertainty. But he was right. Sitting idle only made it worse. The garden needed weeding. Fall cleanup. Preparing beds for winter. The work felt good. Physical. Concrete. Dirt under fingernails. Muscles remembering their purpose. An hour passed. Then 2. The pile of weeds grew. Mrs. Chen appeared at the fence. Watching. Then she grabbed her own gardening gloves. 2 sets of hands worked faster than one. We didn't talk much. Didn't need to. The shared labor said enough. By Thursday, the silence from Eric felt louder than any argument. No calls. No texts. No attempts at contact. He'd made his move. Filed his petition. Testified against me. Now he waited for the system to deliver what he wanted. Control. Money. Power over the woman who'd raised him. The betrayal had layers. Each one cutting deeper than the last. Friday morning, Thomas called again. Still no decision. The judge was thorough. Taking her time. Thorough was good. It meant she was considering everything. Not just rubber stamping Eric's petition. But thorough also meant more waiting. The weekend arrived. Day 6. Day 7. Still nothing. Church on Sunday felt different. The familiar hymns, the routine prayers, all of it distant, like watching through glass. After the service, people approached, asked how I was doing. Their concern felt genuine, their offers of help sincere. But what could they do? Testify to my competence? Write letters to the judge? Thomas had already gathered statements, character witnesses, documentation. Now it all sat in a folder on Judge Hendrix's desk, waiting for her to decide if I was competent enough to control my own life. The absurdity of it struck hard. A stranger determining my worth, my capability, my right to autonomy, based on testimony from a son who barely knew me anymore. Sunday evening, I sorted through old photos, boxes stored in the hall closet. Years of memories in fading color. Eric as a baby, chubby cheeks, bright eyes, completely dependent, completely trusting. Eric at 10, missing front teeth, little league uniform, proud smile. Eric at 18, graduation cap, future spreading before him like an open road. When had he changed? When had I become the burden instead of the support? Or had I always been both? Mother and obstacle, nurturer and inconvenience. The photos went back in their boxes. The past stayed in the closet. Monday arrived. Week 2 of waiting. Day 8. Day 9. The silence became its own presence. Heavy, oppressive. Wednesday afternoon, the call finally came. Thomas's number lit up the screen. My hands shook reaching for it. The judge has issued her ruling, he said. His voice gave nothing away. And? The pause felt eternal. A lifetime compressed into seconds. She ruled in your favor, he said. The petition is denied. You remain in full control. The words took a moment to land. To become real. In my favor. Denied. Full control. I'd won. The relief came in waves. Physical. Overwhelming. The room tilted slightly. The chair held me steady. Margaret, Thomas said. Are you there? I'm here, I managed. Thank you. Thank you. The gratitude felt inadequate. Too small for what he'd done. There's more, he said. The judge's ruling was strongly worded. She found the petition lacked merit. Called it a misuse of the court system. Misuse. The judge had seen through them. Recognized the manipulation. Eric's credibility was destroyed. At least in family court. At least for now. What happens next? I asked. Thomas's voice carried a note of satisfaction. They can appeal. But given the judge's language, I doubt they will. The battle was over. For now. But the war had casualties. A son who'd tried to erase his mother. A relationship that couldn't survive the attempt. That evening, I sat in the garden. The October air was crisp. Leaves were turning. The phone stayed silent. Eric didn't call. Didn't acknowledge the ruling. Victory tasted strange. Bitter and sweet together. I was free. Independent. Still in control of my life. But the price was everything I'd hoped family meant. Mrs. Chen appeared at the fence. Saw my face. Knew immediately. You won, she said. Not a question. A statement. I nodded. She smiled. Sad and proud together. Good, she said. Now the hard part. The hard part. Learning to live with the win. With the loss that came with it. She was right. Victory was just the beginning. The real work was learning to be alone without being lonely. Learning that independence sometimes meant isolation. Learning that doing the right thing didn't always feel good. The sun set over the garden. The temperature dropped. The season was changing. And I was still here. Still standing. Still mine. Whatever came next, I'd face it the same way. One day at a time. One choice at a time. Free. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. 3 weeks passed without a word from Eric. November arrived cold and gray. The trees were bare. The garden lay dormant, waiting for spring. Life returned to its rhythms. Grocery shopping on Tuesdays. Library visits on Thursdays. Coffee with Mrs. Chen on Saturday mornings. Normal. Or the new version of it. The court ruling sat in a manila envelope on my desk. Official. Final. Proof that I'd won. But winning felt hollow when no one called to say they were sorry. Thanksgiving was 2 weeks away. Every year, we'd gathered at Eric's house. Turkey, stuffing, the grandchildren's chaos. This year, no invitation came. The silence said everything a phone call couldn't. On a Tuesday morning, the mailbox held something unexpected. A cream-colored envelope. Thick paper. Expensive. The return address was unfamiliar. A law office downtown. Not Thomas's firm. Inside, a letter. Formal. Cold. It informed me that Eric was contesting my will. Claiming undue influence. Mental incompetence at the time of drafting. The same accusations. Repackaged. Refiled in a different court. He hadn't given up. Just changed tactics. My hand stayed steady as I read. But something inside cracked. A foundation I'd thought was solid. The phone call to Thomas went straight to voicemail. I left a message. Tried to keep my voice level. By noon, he called back. I got the letter too, he said. They sent me a copy. Professional courtesy. The bitterness in his voice matched my own. This is harassment, he continued. The judge ruled. This won't go anywhere, but it would go somewhere. Into more courtrooms, more hearings, more hours of my life spent defending myself. Against my own son. Thomas promised to file a response. Motion to dismiss. Cite the previous ruling. Standard procedure. Standard procedure for an extraordinary betrayal. That afternoon, I drove to O'Malley's pub. Jack was behind the bar. Wiping glasses. The lunch crowd had thinned. He saw my face. Knew immediately something had changed. Sit, he said. Poured coffee without asking. The bar smelled of fried food and beer. Familiar. Grounding. I told him about the letter. The new lawsuit. The endless fight. Jack listened. Didn't interrupt. His jaw tightened with each detail. When I finished, he set down the glass he'd been cleaning. That boy needs to learn when to quit, he said. The words were simple. But the anger behind them felt protective. Validating. What are you going to do? He asked. Keep fighting, I said. What else can I do? The coffee had gone cold. Jack refilled it. Hot. Strong. Better. You could do something else, he said. His voice dropped. Quieter. More careful. Like what? Jack glanced around. Made sure no one was close enough to hear. You could go public, he said. Tell people what he's doing. Shame him into stopping. The suggestion landed like a stone. Heavy. Dangerous. Go public. Make this private nightmare a public scandal. The idea both terrified and tempted me. How? I asked. Jack pulled out his phone. Scrolled. Found what he was looking for. Turned the screen toward me. A Facebook group. Seniors fighting back. 12,000 members. Stories like mine posted daily. Adult children trying to steal homes. Access bank accounts. Force their parents into facilities. Elder abuse dressed up as concern. The stories were endless. Devastating. Familiar. You post your story, Jack said. People see it. Share it. Sometimes that pressure is enough. Public pressure. Social shame. Weapons I'd never considered using. But Eric had destroyed privacy the moment he filed that first petition. Made our family drama a matter of public record. Maybe it was time to take control of the narrative. I'll think about it, I said. Jack nodded. Didn't push. Just left the idea there. Waiting. The drive home was longer than usual. Traffic. Construction. Detours. Or maybe just my mind wandering. Processing. At home, the house felt too quiet. The ticking clock too loud. The laptop sat on the kitchen table. Dusty. Rarely used. But the Facebook group was easy to find. Seniors fighting back. The name stark. Direct. The latest post was from a woman in Ohio. Her daughter had taken power of attorney. Sold the house. Put her in a nursing home against her will. The comments flooded with support. Advice. Stories of similar battles. A community of the betrayed. The discarded. The ones fighting back. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. The cursor blinked. Waiting. What would I say? How would I tell this story? The truth felt too raw. Too personal. Too shameful. But shame belonged to Eric. Not to me. The words came slowly. Then faster. I wrote about the lunch invitation. Jack's warning. The capacity test. The court battle. I wrote about winning. Then being sued again anyway. I wrote about a son who wanted control more than connection. Money more than family. The post took an hour. Editing. Revising. Making it clear without being cruel. Then my finger hovered over the post button. One click. The story would be out there. Public. Permanent. Eric would see it. Lauren would see it. Their friends. Their colleagues. Everyone. The consequence felt enormous. Irrevocable. But so was what they'd done to me. The button clicked. The post published. The story went live. Within minutes, reactions appeared. Hearts. Angry faces. Comments expressing outrage. People who didn't know me. Standing with me anyway. The validation felt unexpected. Powerful. By evening, the post had been shared 30 times. 50. 100. Comments kept coming. Stories poured in. Others who'd fought similar battles. One. Lost. Still fighting. The phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. The message was short. Furious. How dare you air private family matters publicly? Lauren. Had to be. Eric wouldn't text. Too angry. Too proud. Another text followed. This will backfire. You'll regret this. Threats disguised as warnings. Control disguised as concern. Same pattern. Different medium. No response needed. The post spoke for itself. By morning, the shares had reached 300. Local news outlets had started following the group. Looking for stories. Mrs. Chen knocked on the door at 8. Holding her phone. The post on her screen. I saw this, she said. Her voice was quiet. Proud. You did good. The validation from someone who understood felt different. Deeper. Did it feel right? She asked. Terrifying, I said, but yes. Right. She nodded. That's how you know it needed doing. The morning stretched ahead. Uncertain. Unpredictable. But for the first time in weeks, the power balance had shifted. Eric had wanted to fight in courts. Under legal procedures. Where he held advantages. Now the fight was public. Social. Where truth mattered more than procedure. And the truth was simple. A son had tried to steal his mother's freedom. The court had ruled in my favor. The public was learning the story. And I was still here. Still fighting. Still refusing to disappear. The laptop stayed open. The post stayed live. The shares kept climbing. Whatever came next, I'd face it with witnesses. Thousands of them. And that changed everything. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The post reached 5,000 shares by Friday. Local television picked up the story. Channel 7 News. A reporter named Amanda Reeves called Thursday afternoon. Her voice was young, energetic. She wanted an interview, on camera, for the evening broadcast. The idea made my stomach clench. But hiding felt like losing. She arrived Friday morning, 10 o'clock. A cameraman followed. Equipment, lights, cables snaking across my living room floor. The furniture suddenly looked old, worn. The walls needed paint. But Amanda's focus stayed on me, not the house. We sat in the living room. 2 chairs angled toward each other. The camera positioned between us. Lights clicked on. Bright, hot. The room transformed into a stage. Amanda began with gentle questions. How long had I lived here? Did I live alone? Basic establishment. Then the questions sharpened. When did you first realize your son was planning this? How did that feel? What do you want people to know? The answers came easier than expected. The truth had weight, momentum. Once started, it flowed. I told her about the lunch invitation, the warning from Jack, the petition, the courtroom, about winning, then being sued again anyway. Amanda's expression shifted as I spoke. Professional neutrality giving way to something else. Anger maybe, or recognition. My own mother is 78, she said quietly. The camera was rolling. She didn't seem to care. This could happen to anyone, she continued. That's why people need to hear your story. The interview lasted 40 minutes. The evening news would use maybe 3. But those 3 minutes would reach thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. Amanda and her cameraman packed up. Thanked me. Promised the segment would air at 6. The house felt empty after they left. Quieter than before. The cables were gone. The lights dark. But something had shifted. The story was no longer just mine. It belonged to everyone watching. At 5:30, Mrs. Chen knocked. She'd brought her daughter, Helen, 50-something, kind eyes. We want to watch with you, Mrs. Chen said. You shouldn't be alone for this. The television flickered on. Channel 7. News at 6. The familiar anchor appeared. Serious expression. Breaking news graphics. Then my face filled the screen. The surrealism of it hit hard. That's me, on television, telling the world what Eric had done. The segment was titled, Elder Abuse, a local mother's fight for independence. Elder abuse. The words stark, undeniable, true. Amanda's narration provided context. Statistics. 1 in 10 seniors experiences some form of abuse. Financial exploitation is the most common. Then my interview clips. Short, powerful, edited for maximum impact. I spoke about betrayal, about fighting back, about refusing to disappear quietly. The segment ended with a call to action. Resources for seniors facing similar situations. Hotline numbers scrolling across the screen. The television went silent. The 3 of us sat without speaking. Helen broke the quiet first. You were brave, she said. Really brave. Brave or desperate. Sometimes they looked the same. My phone started buzzing. Texts. Voicemails. People who'd seen the broadcast. Friends from church. Former coworkers. Neighbors I barely knew. All expressing support. Outrage on my behalf. Offers of help. The validation felt overwhelming. Necessary. But one call didn't come. Eric stayed silent. Lauren too. The public exposure hadn't produced an apology. Just deeper silence. Saturday morning brought unexpected visitors. A woman and her teenage granddaughter. Standing on my porch. Nervous smiles. The woman introduced herself as Patricia. From 2 towns over. She'd seen the news story. Her own daughter was trying similar tactics. Hadn't filed yet. But the pressure was building. I needed to meet you, Patricia said. To know fighting back was possible. We sat on the porch. Cold November air. Coffee steaming in our hands. Patricia's story was familiar. Too familiar. Daughter claiming concern. Suggesting assisted living. Questioning every decision. The erosion of autonomy disguised as care. I told her about Thomas. About documenting everything. About going public when necessary. Her granddaughter took notes on her phone. Writing down names, resources, strategies. Before they left, Patricia hugged me. Tight. Desperate. Grateful. You gave me hope, she said. I thought I was alone. Alone. The word that haunted all of us. Isolated by shame, silenced by family loyalty. But the news story had broken that isolation. Created connection. Community. Sunday's newspaper ran a follow-up piece. Front page of the local section. Larger context. More statistics. Interviews with elder law attorneys. My story was the anchor. The human face on a systemic problem. Thomas called Sunday afternoon. His voice carried satisfaction. Vindication. Eric's lawyer reached out, he said. They want to drop the will contest. Withdraw everything. The news should have felt triumphant. Victory. Complete capitulation. But all I felt was tired. Bone-deep exhaustion. Why now? I asked. Thomas paused. The publicity. Their firm doesn't want the association. Bad for business. So not remorse. Not regret. Just damage control. What do they want in return? I asked. Nothing formal, Thomas said. But the implication was clear. They drop everything. You stop talking. A gag order dressed up as peace. The offer hung there, tempting in its simplicity. This could all be over. Finished. Done. But silence felt like surrender. Like admitting shame I didn't own. What do you think? I asked Thomas. His answer came quick. Clear. I think you've already won. The question is what winning looks like to you. What did it look like? Freedom without family? Independence bought with isolation? Or something else? Something bigger than just my own case. I'll think about it, I said. The call ended. The house settled into Sunday evening quiet. Daylight fading. Temperature dropping. The newspaper lay open on the table. My face in black and white. Story in stark paragraphs. Thousands had read it, seen the television segment, shared the Facebook post. My private pain had become public testimony. My family's betrayal had exposed a system's failure. And now I had a choice. Accept the withdrawal, return to quiet life, pretend none of it happened. Or keep fighting, keep talking, keep shining light on what happened in the dark. The choice felt impossible. Either way, something was lost. But maybe loss was the price of truth. Of refusing to be erased. Of standing for something larger than just survival. The phone buzzed. Another message. Another stranger offering support. Another story of similar battle. The community that had formed around this fight was real. Needed. Powerful. Walking away from that felt like betrayal too. Just a different kind. Monday morning would bring decisions. Consequences. Whatever came next. But tonight, the story was out there. The truth was public. The silence was broken. And that, at least, couldn't be undone. The lights went off room by room. The house settled. The neighborhood slept. Tomorrow would demand answers, choices, direction. Tonight, I'd simply stood my ground. Refused to disappear. Spoken truth to power. Sometimes that was enough. Sometimes it had to be. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Monday morning came with clarity. The decision had formed overnight. Not suddenly, gradually. Like dawn breaking slowly over frozen ground. Thomas answered on the second ring. His voice carried Monday morning efficiency. Coffee-fueled readiness. I told him my answer. No deal. No silence. The fight continued. Not for revenge. Not for punishment. For the others like Patricia. Like Mrs. Chen's daughter's victim. For the ones who thought they were alone. Who needed to see someone stand and survive. Thomas was quiet for a moment. Then spoke with something like pride. I'll inform their council, he said. And I'll start drafting a proposal. For legislative change. Elder protection laws. Your case could be the catalyst. Legislative change. The words felt enormous. Impossible. Real. The call ended. The morning stretched ahead. Different than the one before. Heavier. More purposeful. At 10 o'clock, a knock interrupted the silence. Not Mrs. Chen this time. Someone younger. 30s maybe. The woman introduced herself as Rebecca Martinez. State representative for the district. She'd seen the news coverage. May I come in? She asked. Her tone was respectful. Not presumptuous. The kitchen table held coffee and possibility. Rebecca pulled out a notepad. Started taking notes. She wanted details. About the process. The gaps in protection. The ways the system failed. The conversation lasted an hour. Rebecca's questions were sharp. Specific. Legislative. What would have helped? What laws existed but weren't enforced? What didn't exist at all? The answers came from experience. Hard-won knowledge. The kind learned through suffering. Before leaving, Rebecca made a promise. She'd draft a bill. Elder Financial Protection Act. Named it right there. Sitting at my kitchen table. Your story makes it real, she said. Gives it a face. That matters in politics. A face. My face. My story becoming policy. The private made public made permanent. The door closed behind her. The house absorbed the silence. But the silence felt different. Charged with potential. Wednesday brought Thanksgiving. The holiday I'd always hosted. Always cooked for. Always gathered family around. This year, Mrs. Chen invited me to her daughter Helen's house. A different table. Different traditions. Different family. But family nonetheless. The kind chosen rather than given. Earned through solidarity rather than blood. Helen's home smelled of roasted turkey and pumpkin pie. Children ran through hallways. Normal chaos. Normal joy. At the table, Helen asked everyone to share gratitude. The tradition felt forced until it didn't. When my turn came, the words surprised me. I'm grateful to be here. To be free. To still be fighting. Mrs. Chen reached over. Squeezed my hand. Said nothing. Didn't need to. The meal continued. Stories shared. Laughter rising. The absence of Eric felt present but not suffocating. Some losses opened space for different kinds of love. Friday morning, the Facebook group exploded with activity. The news coverage had brought thousands of new members. Stories poured in. Copy-paste familiar. Sons. Daughters. Grandchildren. All trying to take control. Steal assets. Force decisions. But now, resources existed. Legal contacts. support networks, strategies that worked. My story had become a template, a roadmap for resistance. The post had been shared over 10,000 times, comments numbered in the hundreds, each one a tiny act of solidarity. A message request appeared in my inbox from someone named Michael Chen, Mrs. Chen's son, the one I'd never met. His message was brief, apologetic. He'd cut contact with his mother after her court battle. Too ashamed, too proud, too wrong. Your story made me realize what I'd done, he wrote. I called her. We're talking again. Thank you. The message sat there, proof that telling truth could heal more than just the teller. Reconciliation wasn't guaranteed, but it was possible. Sometimes. December arrived with snow, light at first, then heavier. The world softening, turning white. The court formally closed. Eric's will contest. Dismissed with prejudice. The legal term for "don't try this again." Thomas filed the paperwork. Official closure. The battle was over. Legally. Completely. But the war for elder rights was just beginning. Rebecca's bill moved to committee. Slow process. Bureaucratic. But moving. The local news followed up. 6 weeks after the first story. Checking progress. Documenting change. Amanda Reeves returned. Different questions this time. Not about victimhood. About advocacy. About what came next. The interview aired during the evening news. Holiday season feel-good story. But with teeth. With purpose. The segment ended with information about the proposed legislation. How viewers could support it. Contact their representatives. Activism packaged for mass consumption. Democracy in action. Christmas approached. Cards arrived in the mail. From strangers mostly. People who'd seen the stories. Felt inspired. Wanted to thank me. One card stood out. No return address. Just local postmark. Inside, a single sentence in careful handwriting. I'm sorry, Mom. I was wrong. No signature. But the handwriting was Eric's. Unmistakable. Learned in childhood. Unchanged by time. The card sat on the mantel. Next to others from people who weren't sorry. Who didn't need to be. The apology came too late for some things. Too early for others. Just in time for nothing in particular. But it existed. Acknowledged wrong. Offered regret. Left the door open a crack. Whether I walked through it remained to be seen. Some bridges burned. Others just needed time to cool. New Year's Eve found me at O'Malley's pub. Jack had invited regulars for a quiet celebration. No crowds. Just familiar faces. Mrs. Chen came. Patricia and her granddaughter. Thomas. Amanda from Channel 7. Rebecca the legislator. An unlikely assembly. Connected by one woman's refusal to disappear quietly. At midnight, glasses raised. Champagne bubbled. Cheap but celebratory. The ritual mattered more than the quality. Jack offered a toast. Short. Sincere. To Margaret. For showing us what courage looks like. The words landed awkwardly. Praise always did. But the sentiment was real. Earned. The glasses clinked. The year changed. The fight continued. But now the fight had company. Community. Purpose beyond personal survival. Walking home through snow-covered streets, the cold bit through my coat. Sharp. Clarifying. The year had taken everything I thought I needed. Family. Peace. Privacy. The comfortable lie of unconditional love. But it had given something back. Truth. Strength. Connection to strangers who became friends. The house appeared through the snow. Small. Warm. Still mine. Completely. Undeniably. Inside, the heat kicked on. The familiar hum of machinery keeping winter at bay. The court documents sat filed away. The news clippings were organized. The Facebook posts archived. Evidence of battle. Proof of survival. Blueprint for others. The new year stretched ahead. Unknown. Uncertain. Full of possibility. Eric's card still sat on the mantel. Unopened question. Unresolved ending. But some stories didn't need resolution. Just continuation. Just the courage to face each day as it came. At 73, I'd learned what I should have known all along. Family was more than blood. Love was more than obligation. Freedom was more than survival. And sometimes the bravest thing you could do was simply refuse to disappear. The lights went out. The house settled. The year began. And I was still here. Still standing. Still mine. That was enough. That was everything.